Hey guys, it's Sunday afternoon here in the Philippines, so it's time for us to do our weekend showcase video. And as promised, we are doing the comparison between Timemicro and MiniGT on their Liberty Walk Silhouette Works GTR R35. These are the only two companies that are kind of compatible in price range and also using the same material, which is die cast. There are two other companies out there that offer this car in 1/64th, maybe more, but the other two that I'm aware of is Hot Wheels, which just now launched this casting in their main line this past year. So it was new for 2021. Then we also have Ignition, but Ignition is resin, so they have the upper hand for detail and such. And I just haven't brought myself to pay $40 for another resin car since I bought the Eno 64 ER34. So, anyways, we have these two today. They are pretty compatible with price, and as I said, the material, both are die cast. And Timemicro, we'll go ahead and take a look at him first because I'll point out some really cool features on this one. The couple things that I did notice is it does have a die-cast chassis, which a lot of the premium manufacturers nowadays don't. That's the one thing that I do love about MiniGT. For their price, they're all metal castings usually. Another thing that they did very nice on this car, they did offer the detail of the disc brakes, as you can see. And let's go ahead and zoom in just a little bit more so we can see some more details. So you can see the rotor, and you can even see the caliper on the back side there a little bit. So really nice feature to add. And then also, if the actual cars were to have white letter tires, this does have the Advan logo on the tire. So that is another really nice feature. And just overall, the details are there. The livery is very good and such. So now looking at the MiniGT next to it. Now the wheels on the MiniGT don't look as detailed. And these wheels that are on the LBWK livery from Timemicro, I believe, are supposed to represent the Rohana style wheels that they run with the Silhouette kit. And I believe that's what these are supposed to represent too, that are on the maroon LBWK from MiniGT. So anyways, the wheels on the Timemicro, I'm going to say, are a little bit nicer done. The only thing that I will point out with Timemicro, if you look at it and look at the MiniGT, just the overall girth of the car, the thickness, it's a little bit too much, in my opinion. It's almost like how I used to call Jada cars. They were just Jadified. They was Jada scale. They just were a little bit too thick in certain areas and such. For example, like Jada's Buick Grand National. Nice car, like in 1/64th when they had it in the Dub City series. It was pretty much spot on for the dimensions of width and length, but the problem was the thickness of the car. It was too much. And they've done that a lot with their cars, and that's kind of what I'm noticing with this Timemicro comparing to others. It just looks to be a little bit too much. So, and I thought maybe also that could be something to do with the livery. So, I brought out a few other MiniGT contenders. So, here's one with a lot of livery, the purple metallic that was just released. So, that, and then also lighter colors like white and yellow, especially, make things look bigger. So, that's why I brought out the yellow and the white ones. So, we can still kind of look at them. So with the livery, let's take a look. And if you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So, and it does give it the appearance of being a little bit thicker with the livery, I will admit that. But still, I think the Timemicro is a little bit thicker. And then, as I said, white will give it that appearance too of being bigger and thicker. And it just may be the livery on this car too that may be giving it that illusion. But I still think it's just a little bit thicker, even if you look at the front fenders and such. That's one thing I will say. It just looks a little bit thicker on the Timemicro. And let's zoom back out. That way we can get it in focus. Put these cars back here. That way it'll be fair. This table is starting to become a little bit warped, so the cars that roll really well do roll really well. So, anyways, actually, maybe the zoom feature will help us a little bit here. So, as I was pointing out before, it just looks like it's a little bit too thick. The bulge in the fender and such, and then just the overall like girth of the vehicle. So if you could see like just what I mean by the girth, just the distance from the rocker to the top of the door. Looks much bigger on this one. That's why I wish we had the MiniGT at our disposal with this livery, but it hasn't been released yet. And such. So anyways, that's basically the downside of the Timemicro, and you can even see where it's a little bit higher. Not much, but a little bit. Comparing to the MiniGT. Now, for other stuff, though, I mean, overall, the car is pretty nicely done by Timemicro. But when it comes to price, that's another thing. For example, like these MiniGTs, the white one and the red one, they were basically mainstream international releases. They run about 10 to 12 bucks each SRP here in the Philippines. So they cost anywhere between like 500 and 600 pesos. Whereas this guy here is going to run you anywhere between 900 and 1100. So between 18 bucks and like 21 bucks. So it's double the price, and I can't justify it. For the quality is no better than MiniGT. If anything, it's substandard to MiniGT. A couple of other things that MiniGT does beat Timemicro with. Just the overall like crispness of the body lines, the details, and once again, we'll bring in the red one. So, and even like the one with a lot of livery. This one kind of hides the details of the body lines, but we'll bring it back in a little. And just overall, as you can see, they're there, but they're just much more defined and crisp on the MiniGT casting as it is on the real car. Even the back, like flared fenders, it's just, there's much more crispness to, even the radius, even the contoured lines have more definition than the Timemicro. So, the underneath detail pretty much is the same. If anything, I would say pretty much even. Like Timemicro has a little bit more defined lines, but then MiniGT I think has a better like rear diffuser and such. So it's like they all have their pros and cons. Then overall, I guess I would just say if I was to buy these, in which I'm going to, and I'm going to keep collecting these, MiniGT definitely wins it. Not only because of the price being 50% of what Timemicro is, or even we'll say like 70% to be fair. Because if you go and get one of their like higher end hobby exclusive limited edition cars like this guy here, he retailed for 20 bucks. So that was supposed to be his SRP. But their regular mainstream cars from Timemicro are always going to be minimum 16 bucks. They have lowered their price a little bit. I did see that. They have become a little more competitive. They do have a more base like line series. Nothing to do with the die-cast. The die-cast is the same. It just comes in a more primitive like display case, and it doesn't come with a figure. The higher end stuff will come with a little figure, and then it will have like a more elaborate detailed display case. That's another thing with Timemicro. They do have a nicer box and case that they come in. So anyways, that's another thing that Timemicro will beat MiniGT on. But overall, I'm going to have to give the win to MiniGT because of price and such. And for me, the box doesn't really matter because of the fact that I open everything and put them in a display case. So if you do want to keep cars in individual display cases, that's one thing that Timemicro offers that MiniGT does not offer on all of their stuff. So that's one selling point about them. If you do want to have cars that are individually displayed and come with their own way to display them, that's something Timemicro offers on, I think, all of their models. So that is one good selling point about them. So they all have their pros and cons. And then one last thing to throw in there is with quality control. With the Timemicro, I've heard a lot of complaints, even in just the one video I did with this LBWK Silhouette Works GTR. A lot of people have complained about paint issues, missing pieces, and other little things, much more than with MiniGT. And as I said, I have about 155 MiniGT vehicles, and I've never had a missing piece on one. But I've heard of it happening, so I can't say that it doesn't happen because I've heard some of my friends actually complain about that. Missing mirror, missing tail light, and such. But the first Timemicro I buy has a missing canard spoiler on the driver's side. So it's not really noticeable with this livery, but if it would have been like a base, like mint green or gray or something like that, then you would have noticed it. But because of this livery and it being black and the canard spoiler or wing being black, it didn't show up. But that's another thing that I think Timemicro lacks on is quality control, and they really shouldn't because of their price being double of what their competitor is. So that's the one thing that I will have to say about them. I don't think they have the quality control that MiniGT has. Although MiniGT has been lacking in some areas with quality control too. They're not perfect, but they're better than a lot of the competitors. So I will say that. So guys, hope you enjoyed this comprehensive comparison. We'll be back next week. I have the new Shimi 150 McLaren coming next week, so hopefully we can unbox that for you. And then we will start our holiday inspired themed videos next weekend too. So we have that coming up. So I will see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and the start to your week. Thanks for watching.